All right. Hey guys, it's Miss West Social Studies class. We are learning about imperialism, and this is the second part of our imperialism unit. We talked about how Europeans went in, took over Africa, went in, took over Southeast Asia, and now we're going to talk about the other side, the resistance to this imperial rule. So, the first place we're headed to is South Africa, the Zulu War. Now, we've been talking about Africa since the beginning of the school year, and we talked about how the Portuguese used to travel along the west coast and sometimes the east coast of Africa, and they established trading posts. Well, during that time at the beginning of the school year, we also talked about the Dutch, and the Dutch came and lived in Cape Town. Well, now we're in the early 1800s, and the British take over Cape Town. The poor little Dutch people, we call them Boers, they are pushed out of their area, and they start going towards Zulu territory. Now, the Zulus are like, oh, no, you didn't. They are not happy with the Dutch or the Boers going into their area. So the leader, Shaka, he says, sorry, little Dutchmen, get out. There they are. And there's the sign. And there's Shaka. So then time goes on, and there's a new Zulu leader, and the British have been there. And the British are like, you know what, big Zulu man, you're kind of scary with your big muscles. We're going to need you to disband your army. Zulu's like, what? I don't think so. And so they refuse. The British are like, you better. And the Zulu are like, bring it. So they go to war, and the British win. Even though the British don't have as many muscles as the Zulu, they have guns. And Zululand becomes property of the British, and the Queen of Great Britain is like, yay, we won. Now, this isn't really the Queen that was going on back then. This is the Queen right now, but what is? All right, and the British win the Zulu War because the British are the bosses of imperialism. And that is the end of our Zulu War story. Next up, the Sepoy Rebellion. The Sepoy Rebellion takes place in India. And it involves the Indian people, the Sepoys, soldiers that were hired by the British, and the British East India Company, which is controlling India. So this is what happens. First, the Sepoys do not trust the British because they feel like the British are kind of looking down on them. Probably because they are. They also feel like they're sort of fighting against their own people. Like, imagine if I gave all my, just a small fraction of my students the power of the teacher. And they could, assign homework and write people up and kick people out of school. They might do that. But then what happens when they have to, kick out their BFF or their boyfriend or their girlfriend from school? They're going to feel like they're fighting against their own people, right? That's how the Sepoys felt. So the Sepoys, a little more backstory here. The Sepoys are either Hindu or Muslim. The two major religions in India would be Hinduism and Islam. Well, Hindus cannot eat beef because cows are sacred. Here he is, I'm sacred. And Muslims cannot eat pork because pigs are dirty. So this it's going to cause a problem. Basically, there's this rumor that the bullets that are used by the Sepoys, or the cartridges for the bullets, are greased with the fat of cows and pigs. Now, the Sepoys have to bite off the end of the cartridge. And also, they're saying that these bullets are greased by greased but with the fat of cows and pigs. And if they shoot those bullets into their fellow Muslims or Hindus, that means the grease of the pigs and cows are going to go in those people. This violates the religious beliefs of both those religions, and so the Hindus and the Muslims are like, no, we are not doing that. And so they rebel against the British over the grease of fat, or the grease and fat of pigs and cows. Guess who won? Not the Sepoys. They lost. Again, the British have guns. So The British East India Company wins. The Sepoys lose. They go home crying like little babies. And India is now going to be under direct rule of the British, which basically means the British are sending a royal representative called a viceroy into India. And the British are going to rule over the Indians directly. And that's our story. Now, our last story takes place in China. China is becoming more and more weak. Now, at the beginning of the school year, or I guess like first quarter, we talked about how Asia has this isolationism policy and they don't really want anything to do with the Europeans. Well, this is not the case. China is now becoming a little more weak and they're interacting more and more with Europeans. I believe we talked about opium. They're selling them some opium. The Chinese are loving the opium and other European goods. So anyways, China's becoming weak because of a corrupt government. There are food shortages, which make the peasants unhappy. We call that hangry. Growing population and pressure from imperial powers. So China's weaker, and now it's easier for imperial powers to influence them. And of course, the imperial powers are looking at China and they're like, whoa, Nelly, that's a lot of people and a lot of natural resources. All right, so European countries all want to be able to trade with China because it's huge. They're like, that's a big market to sell our stuff. So they create this policy called the open door policy, which basically means everybody's allowed to trade with China. There is not going to be a scramble for China like there was with Africa. And so there's trade going on, and the Chinese people are like really hating all these foreigners, especially the impact that Christianity is having on their culture. So in China, these secret societies form, secret societies that do not like all this foreign influence. One secret society has the lamest name ever, the Society of the Harmonious Fists. I'm not really sure how you get a harmonious fist if you're punching someone, but whatevs. We call them the Boxers for short, not boxer shorts. Boxers is their nickname. And they're not puppet dogs either, but I thought that was a cute boxer, so I added it in. So anyways, these Boxers hate the Christians. They start attacking foreigners and the European countries, as well as United States and Russia and Japan. They're like, what are these Boxers doing? They're going to ruin our trade relationships. And so they send troops in to take care of all these Boxers. And the Boxers are like, whatevs, bring it on. Your bullets can't hurt us. And the Europeans are like, oh, really? Pew, 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 pew. And come to find out, bullets really can hurt Boxers. And oops, in the end, the Boxers lose and the European countries win. So there were definitely some rebellions against imperial rule. The imperialist countries in these scenarios win. All right, and that's the end of part 2. We've got some response questions. You can answer these in class, or you can answer them on the YouTube channel to get a little extra credit for my class. Great. Well, that's it. Have a nice day.